The gilded cage. What secrets lay within? What really happened behind the closed doors of the Sultan's palace? The Topkapi Palace, a name that echoes with power, with mystery. Its walls stood tall. Guards watched every entrance. Inside, the imperial harem, a world veiled from public eyes, a world of women, of eunuchs, of the Sultan himself. For centuries, imaginations ran wild, tales of opulence, tales of intrigue, tales of forbidden desires. But what was the truth? What secrets did those ancient stones truly hold? The air within the harem was different, thick with unspoken words, heavy with the weight of tradition. Sunlight filtered through intricate latticework. It cast dancing patterns on marble floors. Yet it never fully dispelled the gloom. These were halls of confinement, but also halls of opportunity. For some, it was a prison of silk and gold. For others, a ladder to unimaginable heights. The scent of exotic perfumes mingled with old secrets, spices from distant lands, incense burning low. Whispers seemed to cling to the velvet curtains. Imagine corridors stretching like a maze, rooms adorned with Iznik tiles. Blues and turquoises gleamed softly. Fountains murmured in hidden courtyards. Order from chaos, the harem's intricate design. The imperial harem was not a chaotic collection of women, far from it. It was a highly structured institution, a complex society within the palace walls. At its head stood the Valide Sultan, the mother of the reigning sultan. Her authority was immense, second only to the sultan himself. She managed the harem's vast resources, its personnel, its intricate daily operations. Her word carried weight, not just within the harem, but often in the affairs of the state. She was the ultimate matriarch. Below the Valide Sultan, a clear hierarchy existed. The Haseki Sultans were the favored consorts, mothers of princes. They held significant status, and often considerable influence. Then came the other women, the women wives, the fortunate ones, and the favored ones in the Sultan's eye. Each rank came with specific privileges, stipends, apartments, servants. Even the number of candles lit in their chambers was prescribed. This order maintained stability. It defined roles. It managed expectations. New arrivals, often young girls captured in war, or purchased from slave markets, or presented as gifts. They entered at the lowest rung. Echoes in the marble halls. A day in the life. A day in the harem began early. Before the first call to prayer, the vast complex would stir. Servants scurrying through corridors, kitchens coming alive with the preparation of food. The air would fill with the aroma of baking bread, of brewing coffee. For the hundreds, sometimes thousands of inhabitants. Each woman had her duties, her routines, depending on her rank, her skills, her connections. Life was regimented. But it was also filled with moments of leisure and learning and subtle competition. The younger women, the attended classes, they learned to read, to write Ottoman Turkish, to recite the Quran. Music lessons were common, the oud, the ney, the kanun. Their melodies often drifted through the courtyards. Dancing was taught, not just for performance, but as a form of grace, of poise. Needlework and embroidery were highly valued skills, creating intricate designs for clothing, for tapestries, for gifts. These skills were practical. They were also a means of expression, a way to pass the long hours. Higher-ranking women had more autonomy. The Valide Sultan managed her vast household. She received reports. She issued orders. She often consulted with the Kisla Aga, or with other influential figures. The Haseki Sultans focused on their children. The Sultan's ear, whispers of power and influence. The harem was often dismissed, by outsiders, as a mere pleasure dome, a place of sensual indulgence for the Sultan. This view is simplistic. It is deeply flawed. The harem was, in fact, a potent political arena. The women within its walls wielded significant influence, especially the Valide Sultan and the Haseki Sultans. Their proximity to the Sultan gave them unique access, unique power. They were not just passive residents. They were active participants in the complex dance of Ottoman governance. Their whispers could shape policy. The Valide Sultan, as the Sultan's mother, held a position of unparalleled authority. She was his first advisor, his most trusted confidant. Many Valide Sultans effectively co-ruled with their sons, especially if the Sultan was young or inexperienced, or simply disinterested in daily administration. They managed vast charitable endowments. They commissioned public works, mosques, hospitals, fountains. Their patronage extended to arts and culture. They built networks of loyalty within the palace and beyond. Their political acumen was often formidable. The Haseki Sultan, the chief consort or mother of the heir apparent, also held sway. Her relationship with the Sultan was key. Section 5. Threads of conspiracy rivalries woven in silk. Within the opulent confines of the harem, life was a delicate tapestry, woven with threads of ambition and loyalty and bitter rivalry, the pursuit of favor, the desire for status, the fierce protection of one's children. These were powerful motivators. They fueled an undercurrent of tension, of intrigue. Alliances were constantly shifting, like desert sands. Friendships could be genuine, but they could also be strategic. Every interaction was layered with meaning, every glance, every whispered word. The competition for the Sultan's attention was intense. To become an or, even better, a Haseki, meant a dramatic rise in status, in wealth, in influence. This ambition could turn women against each other. Jealousies flared easily. Rumors spread like wildfire through the labyrinthine corridors. A misstep, a careless word, could have serious consequences: disfavor, banishment, or worse. The stakes were not just personal, they were dynastic. Section 6. Beyond the veil of myth, truths of the seraglio. For centuries, the West viewed the Ottoman harem through a distorted lens, an Orientalist fantasy, filled with eroticism, decadence, and passive, languid women. These images were largely products of imagination, of prejudice, of a lack of real information. European travelers and artists depicted lurid scenes of slave markets, of bathing beauties, of a sultan surrounded by countless submissive odalisques. These portrayals were designed to titillate, to exoticize, to reinforce a sense of Western superiority. They bore little resemblance to reality. The truth is far more complex and far more interesting. The harem was not primarily about sexual gratification for the sultan. It was the private domestic sphere of the imperial family. It was a household, albeit a very large and unique one. Its primary function was dynastic, to ensure the continuation of the Ottoman line, the selection and education of women, the raising of princes. Section 7. The unseen architects, women who shaped an empire. The women of the imperial harem were more than residents. They were architects, unseen by many. But their influence shaped the Ottoman Empire in profound and lasting ways. Their roles extended far beyond the palace walls, far beyond domestic concerns. They were builders, patrons, political strategists. Their contributions are often overlooked, hidden in the shadows of official histories written by men, about men, but their impact is undeniable, etched in stone and in policy. Consider the great Valide sultans, women like Nurbanu Sultan, Safiya Sultan, Kosem Sultan, Turhan Hatis Sultan. They commissioned magnificent mosque complexes, hospitals, schools, soup kitchens. These were not just acts of piety, they were expressions of power, of public presence. These buildings served the people. They also solidified the Valide Sultan's legacy, her influence, her connection to the populace. They were statements that women could and did shape the urban landscape. Section 8. The Final Cipher. A truth unlocked from time. For so long, the harem's deepest secrets seemed locked away, guarded by stone walls, by silent centuries. We spoke of power struggles, of daily life, of dispelled myths. But one crucial element often remains obscured, a truth more surprising than any tale of intrigue. It lies not in the gilded cages, nor in the whispers of consorts, but in the very ink that recorded their lives, or more precisely, the ink that did. The greatest secret was the deliberate, systematic obscuring of their intellectual and economic networks that stretched far beyond Constantinople. Imagine for a moment that the education within the harem, the literacy, the poetry, the music, was not merely for refinement or for the sultan's pleasure, but part of a sophisticated system, a system for cultivating minds, for specific strategic purposes. Evidence, fragmented yet compelling, suggests this. Letters written in coded language, financial records hinting at independent investments, patronage of scholars and artists, not just for public display, but for private knowledge, for discreet influence. This was a hidden university,